Hey guys, we are back working on my 1959 Jeep CJ5 Kubota swap. In the last video, we spent some time cleaning this thing up with a laser welder, and as you can see, the marketplace rebuild is pretty much complete. Still some reassembly to do, of course, but things are definitely looking a lot cleaner than they did before. Didn't paint the bell housing because that's coming off anyways. Before we get going too far on engine reassembly, I think I need to shuffle some vehicles around here. Don't really need the 1953 Ford frame sitting right in front of the garage. It sure would be nice to have a 59 Jeep sitting right where it is. Let me get some movements made here and I'll bring you guys back. We'll take a look at what I got with the conversion kit from Greg at Overland Diesel. Thanks for watching. Well guys, we've got the Jeep up in front of the garage here. I think we need to knock some, shall we say, organic material off of this thing. It is a little bit mossy, and we might also take some plastic off while we're at it. We'll see how that goes. But I've got the pressure washer and my helper, and I'm going to fire that up and see if we can clean this thing up a little bit, see what we've got to work with. Let me put you on a stand. We'll do a little time lapse of this. We don't need to show too much washing. I think we all know how to wash a car with a pressure washer. Well guys, we kind of got things hosed down. Unfortunately the camera didn't record this last part where I did under the hood and the interior, but we've got a bunch of cleanup done here, giving things a good hosing off. Definitely going to need some work. As you can see, we've got some rather Swiss cheesy floor pans. Bottom of the bin, it didn't get rinsed out very well, but there is some drainage holes in the bottom of that we're going to need to fix. A little bit of corrosion damage here and there on the tub, but for the most part the tub's not in bad shape. Found a little bit of rust over on the other side. Something going on here that'll need to get fixed. You know, are we doing a restoration on this thing, or are we just going to make it something that we can drive? And I'm kind of leaning towards just making a driver out of it. It's a four-wheel drive Jeep. It's not worth much. You know, there's a bit of a cult following for these CJ5s, but not huge. Not like the modern Jeeps. They're a pretty capable machine off-road, but they're not what you might want to call a highway vehicle. Obviously, we've got some repairs we're going to have to do along the bottom lip here. I have a MIG welder, I have a bunch of sheet metal, and Jeeps are relatively flat-sided. So we can get to that at some point. The next step for work on the Jeep itself is going to be removing the front sheet metal. Looks to me like half the bolts are already missing anyways, so that shouldn't be too terrible to get these front fenders and the grill shell off, and then we can have access to the engine bay to make the modifications we need to make. Lots of cleanup that we're going to have to do here. We've got to prepare the transmission I don't know what you guys can see with that sun, but I've got a new front seal housing to go on there, and the splines are going to have to get all cleaned up, as well as the pilot bushing, pilot bearing step down at the front. We're going to need some universal joints. Hopefully the differentials aren't in too bad a shape here. If we want to stop, we're going to probably need a master cylinder. And, you know, lots of work left here to do to get this thing so that it'll move under its own power. But getting this little cleanup job done that we just did is certainly a step in the right direction. Well, we'll let this thing drip dry for a little while here, and then we'll get back at the engine, take a look at the parts that we got to work with there. Here's the collection of what we're going to need to finish this project off. Kind of the right hand side of the table here, we have the stuff that I got from Overland Diesel. And over here we have the parts list from Kubota that I ordered in. We need the regular capacity oil pan and gasket. We've got bolts for the pan. Greg recommended getting a new set of exhaust studs because he often has trouble getting them off. Mine fortunately came off very easily. They're still in great shape, so these are not really necessary. We've got the tube that goes into the block for the dipstick, and the dipstick. We've got some copper sealing rings and some plugs to go in the oil pan. We've got the adapter to go to the Napa Gold 1348 oil filter. And that is the one-piece exhaust manifold gasket. I do have an intake manifold gasket as well because we ended up pulling that off. This I picked up because I was an idiot and broke the one that's on the engine. Fortunately, the one on the engine was, I was able to weld it back together with the laser welder, so this is a surplus to our needs. I do plan on doing another one of these conversions. I'm thinking this would be a good replacement for a flathead Ford, so we'll likely use up any of the surplus parts we end up with on the next build. Over here in the Overland kit, we've got frame motor mounts. These get attached to the frame, and then these gusset plates get welded to the frame plates, and that's your frame side of the engine mount. This is the engine side of the engine mount. It bolts into the bolt pattern on the side of the block and sticks out. Then we've got some heavy and rubber isolators to go between these mounts and these mounts. I've got some intake tubing. Made a deal for a heater style thermostat housing. Mine does not have the fitting for the heater because it is a reefer engine instead of an industrial engine, and with this having a heater in the Jeep right here, it would probably be a good idea to have the fittings necessary to get the heat system functioning. We have some more intake tubing. Here we have the turbocharger assembly. We've got a bunch of bits and pieces that go with the turbo. We've got the drain. We've got the oil supply. Absolutely positively, when you're dealing with a turbocharger, make sure that it gets pre-oiled before the engine lights off, because these things spin at like 10, 12,000 RPM, and if you don't have oil going to them, they won't last. I also got the downpiping kit from Greg, and that takes us at least down to like frame level for connecting. We've got a whole bunch of miscellaneous bolts. We do have a governor spring, slightly different than what's in the engine. We've got the throttle pedal assembly, and that's part of the exhaust. Here's our throttle cable assembly. Miscellaneous fittings for fuel return, so that fuel gets back into the tank. Typically the Jeep didn't have a return line, it just had the supply, and unfortunately we're going to need a return line with the diesel. That keeps air out of your diesel and also keeps the fuel cool. So obviously we've got a bunch of work that we're going to have to do here to get this all set up and operational. The exhaust manifold here is going to need gasket matching so that it is the same size as the turbo. No sense leaving that power on the table. I think this afternoon I'm going to try and get the dipstick tube and the turbo return installed in the block. Then we can set up the dipstick to make sure that it's going to clear the rotating assembly in the bottom of the engine. We wouldn't want the dipstick getting wrapped around the crankshaft. And then we could put the oil pan on, get the bottom end of the engine buttoned up. Let me get you guys set up on a stand. We'll get over there and start looking at getting that done. A couple of more bits and pieces that I neglected to mention. Greg provided some labels, stickers, that kind of thing. We've got the studs for the flywheel. Here's our flywheel that is designed to reuse the Kubota starter. We've got our pilot bearing installed and we are drilled for multiple clutch patterns. I went with the heavy duty one just because I want it to last. And here is the adapter plate that Greg provides. It bolts onto the Kubota engine and then it accepts the Jeep bell housing. Over here we have the heavy duty clutch and pressure plate. That's Greg's alignment tool that he loaned me until I get it installed. With some additional hardware, throwout fork, seal. Here's the front seal assembly, and this is part of the throwout bearing. I've got the exhaust manifold up here on the table because we're gonna have to cut off grid heater assembly, flush, weld a cap on the end, rotate this 90 degrees and point it towards the turbo and fish mouth it into the intake so that it feeds all of the cylinders again. Now that we've got that taken care of, let's get going on doing the dipstick tube. We have two of these dipstick tubes that need to go into the block. First one will go on this side. That is for the dipstick. This block had a pre-drilled hole here with a rubber stopper in it. The older blocks, this is a relatively recent one, I guess. The older ones didn't have the hole pre-drilled, and you had to drill it yourself. So you need a long drill bit because, of course, you got to get around the diesel pump, and that's hard to do with a standard drill bit. I got lucky; didn't have to drill it. It slips in. I'm going to try tapping this with my brass hammer. I picked this up from Princess Auto. Power Fist. And let's see how that taps in. I do have a ball peen hammer, and we'll have to use a piece of wood or something to protect the tube if it doesn't just tap in with the brass hammer. Yeah. This is kind of going away here. Let me grab a wrench and see if I can get this banjo fitting off from here. This needs to come off anyways. There's fuel screens in behind here that are going to need to be cleaned, and if I can get it out of the way, that'll give us a straight shot on that tube. It is kind of stiff though. When the brass face would be gentle enough, but it's not. Well, there we go, but that's definitely got a burr on it that we've got to take off of there. And here is the factory. Oh, I got two of these. That one's not fitting. And the other one is basically the same. The gist of what I'm getting is that should have just gone into that hole without the adapter. Yeah, over on the other side of the engine, that dipstick is perfect to go into that. So I guess we have to figure out how to get that back out of the block. This is going to be fun. Let me roll this thing over. I'll bring you guys back when I am ready to proceed. Well, there we go. It definitely was easier to get out of there than I was expecting it to be. Did get a little bit of flaring on the end. This piece is, of course, absolutely junk, but we've got it out. The other side will hopefully be easier to put in, and this side, we just need to push the dipstick in. Kind of something. So, you can see, here's our full notch. Or is that the bottom notch? I'm not sure. That line is basically just to the point where it's going to start connecting with the connecting rods, which would definitely not be good. Let's compare this dipstick to the other one. Yeah, they're the same length. I don't know how well that shows up. But, yeah, that seems to be a little on the shallow side to me. I'm going to have to check into that. Let me double check the pictures that I got from Greg, and we'll see what it looks like. Be right back. So the picture is pretty dark, so I'm not going to be able to hold it up in front of the camera and show it to you guys. But essentially what it says is I need to put an arc in the dipstick so that it bends away from the crankshaft, and B, then it'll be more straight up and down, and that'll give us a better graduation. There we go, that looks better. Let me bring you guys over here and I'll show you. So here's our top mark, which is just above the web of the block. That's good. And the bottom mark is down and it's still above the oil pickup. So I think that looks pretty good. And we are well away from the rotating assembly. So I think we're probably okay. Yeah, maybe we'll bend it just a little bit more. Well, guys, I think that we're going to call this one here. This is the first of frustrations that I encountered this day of building. We'll continue on with the build process here over the next couple of weeks, and hopefully by then I'll have the engine back together and running. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Greatly appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. If you got this far, can you give me one of those thumb ups? Give me a like. If you haven't already done so, consider subscribing to the channel. I'd love to have you come back, and I'd also like to make a great big thanks going out to Greg from Overland Diesel. He's been a big help figuring out all these little details. You know, not all of these Kubota engines are the exact same, and having somebody that's dealt with several of them certainly makes this project go a lot better. Well, we'll catch you guys in the next mess. Thanks for watching.